Last night's AA meeting sparked so much discussion and information, and I can only pray and hope we have more winners coming out of the addiction of pornography and sex. Welcome back to our third session. I know tonight is not going to be any different. I am happy to see you again. Remember, don't skip a night, keep coming. I encourage you to make that effort. You will never, ever regret it.
I'm always gonna win. Yeah. The enemy really want my mind. I got to stand strong and keep my armor on. If I fall, rise the next time. Can't let them keep a good soldier down. See, I rise and take my place. Cause I'm more than a conqueror. I'm gonna finish this race. So call me a winner, yeah. That's my God, he will fight for me. Call me a winner. Jehovah done said victory. So when you see me again and you give me a hail, call me by my right name. Call me a winner, yeah. That's who I am. Yeah. A winner, I'll fight this fight with the prize in sight. Never give up on this journey called life. Thankful for where you brought me this far. With your strength I'll keep pushing on and higher I go. I'm not gonna give up. I'm gonna finish this race. So call me a winner. Cause my God, he will fight for me. Call me a winner. Jehovah done said victory. So when you see me again and you give me a hail, call me by my right name. Call me a winner. Yeah.
Our specially invited guest this evening is no other than Alec Cumberbatch. He has a degree in computer science and management. He loves music, youth ministry, and information communication technology. He comes from the Holders Hill SDA Church, where he serves in the music and media ministry department. Alec has such a deep passion for digital evangelism that he has recently created an app called Advent Connect, which brings Bible based Seventh day Adventist resources right at the fingertips of anyone wanting to stay connected with God. Tonight, our hot topic that we are going to look at is an addiction for many: social media and technology. Let's hear what Mr. Cumberbatch counsels us so that we can overcome and be a winner for Christ.
Good night to everyone. Just making sure that you can hear me. And I'm going to give you a little peek of me for a little bit. Are you guys hearing me?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
yes, please.
Good. So let me see. So it's only me that has my camera on. So even if I said to give me a wave, I will not see a wave. So I'll have to wait until I come down to Amazing Grace to give you guys a wave. That's all right. I want to thank Amazing Grace Church for inviting me to this session. Kim is using the technology to send me a wave. And although I said I want to thank Amazing Grace, I noticed that there are persons here from all over Barbados and possibly the world. And I want to welcome you here. Now, I'm going to turn off my camera so that can reduce the bandwidth that is being used. And I'm going to share my screen. Do that again. All right, technology addiction. I'm just going to start by asking everyone to bow our heads for prayer. Father in heaven, we thank you so much for blessing us with a team of persons that can come together and try to tackle this issue of addiction in so many different ways. It affects all of us in different ways, and it's important that we spend a little bit of time, and especially in the area of technology where more and more use of it is necessary. We ask that you guide this evening's proceedings. We ask that you guide me as I speak, and I pray that persons will learn a little bit more about how social media and technology and the internet can have an impact on their lives, and that we can commit to using the technology for you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Okay. So technology addiction. Be sober, be vigilant. And our goals for today are to find out if technology addiction really is a thing. That's one, because we are using technology all of the time. Are we really addiction? Is it really a thing that we should pay a specific focus to? How about types of technology addiction? We'll take a look at types of technology addiction, and then we'll take a dive into the battle for your attention and my attention. And in this battle is where the fight for addiction, between addiction, whether it is an addiction or whether it is just us using the computer, it's in that battle for attention that we have to pay special attention to. And then we're going to look at bits of solutions to the problem. Now, a lot of this information you're going to know already because technology is all around us and we feel the impact of technology on our lives all of the time. So I want to start with this text. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, is as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour. And this is 1 Peter 5:8. Now, we'll talk about this a little bit more, but I want to introduce this thought to you. While we would have spoken, we know about the other types of addiction, drug addiction, etc. Technology is one that comes after you, like your roaring lion. And I want us to remember as we go through and talk that we need to be vigilant and be sober. And don't think the word sober only means that you're not drunk or you aren't addicted to alcohol. Being sober speaks about the state of mind. It's being clear-headed, being sensible, being thoughtful, to be able to think clearly and make rational decisions. God always wants us to have that state of mind where we can think clearly and where we can make rational decisions. Okay, so what is an addiction? Addiction is now classified as a disease that affects the brain, not just a personal feeling or a choice. So it is actually a brain disease. Now, I highlighted that part, not a personal feeling or choice, because we're going to look at that later on. All right. So, an addiction. What you're seeing on the left in the screen is an image of the brain, two images of the brain. On the left side, non-drug user. On the right side is a drug abuser. Now, the image on the left shows the activity of euphoria. Scientists say that this is increased dopamine levels. This is when you feel good after taking a substance, example, drugs, food like sugar, or sex. Dopamine affects the regions of the brain that control emotional processing, attention spans, and decision making. These regions also get affected when you use the internet. Now, if you're looking at the picture, you see a yellow or green, yellow, and red glow. So that is the point in time where our minds are have been sensitized, have that dopamine, we have that feeling of euphoria. On the right side is someone that has that same, is using that same substance, but the impact on the brain or the euphoria is not as prevalent, which means that the person needs to take it more and more and more to get that same exact feeling of euphoria. And these tests were done with substances, but the same thing happens with technology and persons who may be addicted to technology. Right, so there's still that question, is there really technology addiction? Is there internet addiction? Well, there are two types of addiction. The first one is substance. This refers to addiction that involves the use of substances, example, alcohol, cocaine, food. Then there is behavioral. Now, most people, when they think of abuse, they think of the substance. But behavioral refers to addiction that involves compulsive behaviors. These are persistent, repeated behaviors that you carry out even if they do not offer any real benefit. So I want someone to tell me which one of these categories do you think technology fall under? I mean, it's an easy question, but I want to hear your voice. Would technology addiction fall under substance abuse or behavioral?
Behavioral.
All right. Why would you say that?
Because technology is not a substance
Okay.
and it affects the behavior. But it's not a substance, it's a non-substance.
Thank you very much. Quite easy, quite simple. But there's still that question, is technology really an addictive device or something? Now I'm going to look at some risk factors of substance abuse, and then we're going to look at some risk factors of technology addiction and see if we can really say that technology causes addiction. So these are substance abuse risk factors. And these are things that may increase the chance of developing a substance use disorder. This is experiencing physical, sexual, or emotional abuse. This may cause us or anyone to have a higher risk of using a substance and being addicted to it. Family members or peers who use or misuse the same substance. Everyone around, they're smoking, they're drinking. That is a higher risk factor for a child growing up to become a substance abuser. Then there's access to these substances. If as a child, I'm growing up and there's a blunt, I could just go and pick up a blunt or I could go pick up alcohol or something, then I have a higher risk of eventually abusing the substance. Mental health disorders. So these are all risk factors of substance abuse. Now, let's take these same risk factors and see if it can apply to technology. Experiencing physical, sexual, or emotional abuse. Can anyone tell me how experiencing physical, sexual, or emotional abuse might cause some person to eventually have technology addiction? Just going to pause for a couple of seconds, see if anything pops in your head. Okay, so persons who are physically abused, sexually abused, emotionally abused, they oftentimes withdraw. And persons who withdraw usually prefer to stay on their technology. They aren't going outside, they aren't communicating with persons. They bury themselves within their cell phones, tablets, TV. So immediately you can see that persons who are experiencing physical, sexual, or emotional abuse can have a higher risk factor for technology addiction. Let me try to plug in my headphones to try to get away from. Are you guys hearing me clearly? I hope this is a lot better. Just want to confirm.
It is.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. So we were just looking at physical sexual abuse. Family members or peers who use or misuse the same technologies. All right. So if mother, father are always on their computers, always in their cell phones, it is likely that a child growing up will then see this kind of behavior as a normal behavior. And then it is most likely that if these parents are misusing or have these technologies, are so much focused on it, they are going to give these technologies to their students, to their children. All right. So they will have access to these technologies. And in the same way, when I was speaking about emotional abuse and mental health disorders or and causes depression, anxiety, and persons can end up being addicted to technology. So that was to show you that yes, technology addiction is a real thing, because people, believe it or not, still don't believe that is a real thing. And I wanted to show you that there are other factors that can cause persons to grow up with a higher risk of technology addiction, just like all the other types of addiction. So I want us to look at ourselves, and especially as parents, and see if we are leaving these kinds of traces for our children, and then blaming it on our children. All right. So yes, technology addiction is a real thing. It is not not a clinically recognized term, but I'm going to use it right now as a term. Technology addiction, it is real. Now, when people usually use the term technology addiction, they are generally referring to an excessive interest towards internet platforms, apps, and tools, and the use of social media pages, as well as the excessive use of smartphones or other smart devices. So, does constant use of technology then mean that you are addicted? No. Many of us, including myself, I have to use the computer for work. My work is based on the internet. So if there is no internet, I really cannot work. And I use it on my computer. I use it on my phone. Sometimes I have to use the tablet. So from 8:30 in the morning till late at night, sometimes I'm constantly using technology. Some of you will also experience the same. But just because we're constantly using the technology doesn't mean that we are addicted. No. I have a questionnaire for you, and I want you to pay attention to these questions. Now, I know we're going to get to social media and discussing other things, but there are certain environments where technology addiction can thrive, and that is important to know. And there are certain behaviors that we, at this point, May 11, 2021, may already have that may indicate that we have an addiction to technology, whether it's social media, whether it's internet. All right. So I want you to answer these questions for yourself. Technology addiction test. I eat my food often in front of a computer or television. I take my laptop, tablet, or smartphone with me to the toilet. Now, don't raise your hand in here if you do that. But I'm going to invite you to raise your hand in your mind. I check my social media accounts at least hourly. After I send a message, I refresh the page continuously and check if I receive an answer. I use some words and phrases that I see or hear on the internet, games or chat rooms in my daily life. If there is no Wi-Fi connection where I go, I change my location. Do we do that? Even though we don't need the internet where we are going. I have at least 2 smart devices, such as a phone, tablet, or computer that I can always access. And Now, two smart devices, small, but think about it. Do you have two cell phones plus two tablets plus three TVs in your house? Think of your environment. All right. The idea of spending time without an internet connection scares me. I know many younger persons that this is real. I prefer to buy products online than where I can buy from the store near me. Now, I must confess, I buy probably most of my things on Amazon. But for me, I buy the things that will be cheaper. But some persons do have this trouble or problem, especially in, for instance, United States, where they can purchase something on Amazon and it is brought to their door the same day or the very next day. So they don't even get up to go shopping. They can get their groceries brought to them. They can get um, their toilet paper, they can get whatever they need brought to them. So they do not need to leave home, although they can. Things to consider. I have been forbidden to use a computer or smartphone by others. How's that happen? In the same way, you may think of a person with alcohol addiction. People have to keep telling them or forbidding them from drinking. I have 3 or more social media accounts. I have more than one battery chargers for my smartphone. And you walk with them everywhere you go. These things might trigger some persons because they may relate to them. I sit close to the power outlet to use my devices while charging. So you cannot leave my devices where they are to charge and go find a book to read or something else. All right. These things are real. And I want us to, take a note of them and remember them possibly tomorrow, next week, in the coming months when you realize I am doing these things. I spend most of my day looking at the screen of my smartphone. I use the abbreviations that I learn on the internet in my daily life. Sometimes I skip meals when I am on my computer, smartphone, laptop, or tablet. So you are playing the game. You are scrolling through social media from 9 a.m. and when you look up, it is 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and you have not eaten. And I'm not talking about you have pressing work to do. And even so, you have pressing work to do, but what you're focusing on the computer, on the cell phone, is much more appealing and you can't get away from it. So you skip meals. All right. Last one, right, so we did devices in my environment. The number of computers in our home is more than the number of people. I check my message, social media accounts, and emails constantly while watching a movie. So you're not just watching a movie, but you are talking to persons. People, the room is full of people, and you're always in your phone. Even though I'm not expecting an important message or call, or even though I am going to sleep, I don't turn my device off. There are times that I have canceled or postponed a romantic appointment to play a video game or surf the internet. Instead of making time for my personal hygiene, I sometimes spend the time on the internet and technology. No, these things are real. All right. If you went through all of these and you said yes to the majority of them, then you may have a technology addiction problem. All right. So parents, I also want you to remember these things. You can always go online and search for technology addiction test, and you can be presented with some questions that you can assess your child, yourself, or someone you really care about to see if they may be falling slave to technology. Okay, now highly addictive technologies. Oh, we would remember slot machines even before these cell phone was so popular, or computers, slot machines. That's the technology. Television. We always zoom in on children and youth these days with their social media, but many adults are, they had to sit down on television around 6 o'clock every day, every weekday to watch Days of Our Lives. They could not do anything else. Um, the television technologies can become addictive. Gaming. All right. Now, gaming addiction involves on and offline activities that can be done with a computer. As computers became more widely available, games such as Solitaire, Tetris, and Minesweeper were programmed into their software. So I'm going to stop here and I'm going to ask any of you who remember these to raise your hand, check mark something if you remember these software before all the popular ones came. Solitaire, Tetris, Minesweeper. All right. Right. And especially Minesweeper, that every single time, I mean, I remember myself, all right, saying this was the last one. This is the last one. You're trying to select, sorry, younger persons who don't know anything about Minesweeper. Sorry. But the older ones who know about this game, you had to make sure and you click on the dots or the spaces, or clear all of the spaces so that you don't click on a bomb. All right. And you would do that over and over, and you'd keep telling yourself, all right, this is the last one. This is the last one. And games like Solitaire, you play for hours. Now, researchers quickly found that obsessive computer game playing was becoming a problem in certain settings. Office employees would spend excessive amounts of time playing these games, causing a notable decrease in productivity. Today, not only are these classic games still available, but so are thousands of new ones. Computer addiction is the oldest type of internet computer addiction. Sorry, gaming addiction is one of the oldest types of internet or computer addiction, and it's still prevalent and harmful today. All right. And then there is social media. And we're talking about, okay, so I want you to type in all the different social media websites that you know inside the chat. Actually, someone can open up the mic and tell me all of the different social media, any social media accounts that you know. Trying to find back the chat. Are you guys hearing me?
Yes, Facebook, Twitter.
Yes, Facebook,
Chat.
Twitter, Snapchat. That's all?
You said some.
I
Instagram.
want you to list as many as you know. Instagram.
Oh, okay.
Anybody else?
Tinder.
Tinder.
Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, iMessage, and Instagram.
All right. No, I thought I had this slide on the screen, but there really are thousands and tens of thousands different apps that we call social media. All right. And let me just, and I want to make sure and show you this for a reason. Oops. Okay. All right. So these are only a few of what what the world knows as social media. And each of you could only list a couple of those things. At the top, Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, Google, YouTube. I don't even know many of them. But the reason why I wanted to show you about all of these different social media accounts is because there is not a battle, there is a war for your attention. A war for your attention. Now I put back the definition that I had earlier. Said addiction is now classified as a disease that affects the brain. Then I underlined, not a personal feeling or choice. Now, we know that if you spend a lot of time on social media, you are addicted. You feel attached to it. We know this. So I'm not going to go into too much of that. We know this. But I want you to understand that that just as that text that says the devil is like a roaring lion seeking out who he can devour. Imagine that when you're thinking about social media and the internet. A roaring lion seeking out your attention. All right. And once he has your attention is no longer on God. All right. It's not just a coincidence. All right. Now, the more there are three main areas I'm going to talk about here: cell phones, your notifications, target marketing in this war for your mind. Now, the cell phone. The more you use your cell phone, the more you cannot live without it. Cell phone developers make sure that you have apps on your phone that constantly remind you that to keep your phone secure, to clean out old files, to check it, so that you are so dependent on your cell phone, so that the minute that your cell phone drops in the toilet or on the ground and it cannot work, you need to go get another one. All right? That wasn't a question there, but that is something, again, that we have to be careful of. Something happens to our cell phones, that's it. We are in a frenzy. We need to go get another one. That's another point to identify if you may have that addiction. Cell phone manufacturers gives us more and more accessories to make life easier. Camera quality is improving more and more and more. So everything is in your hand. Now, there were wired headphones. Now they're wireless headphones. So it's easier to go jogging with them. They're credit card readers. So I'm a business person. I can get a credit card reader, plug it into my phone. These things aren't just coincidence. They want you to keep using their technology. Now, the most ingenious invention, in my mind, on a cell phone is a notification. And I pretty sure it was on that video that you had earlier. I actually had a clip of that video as well. All right, but I'm no longer going to use it, where it spoke to how how notifications have affected our minds. So to the point where we think we see a notification flash, but it is not there. This is no coincidence. Every app makes sure that they add notifications to it to keep you looking, to keep you checking, so that you can get more from them. The WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, they know that we like attention. So a notification usually means that someone wants you or someone liked your photo. It's not just coincidence. And then there is the target marketing. All right. Now, many of us, when we are on social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and when we are surfing the internet on YouTube, you're just searching on Google or on Bing, or you're just reading the news on Nation News website, on Barbados Today website, or the Advocate website. Can someone tell me what is that single thing that all of them have? What does all of these have that you don't ask for? Any brave, smart person? See something in the chat. Ads. Thank you, Kim. Ads. And you see here a pay-per-click. So I can ask Google to put my ad in a website so that only persons in Barbados that likes spaghetti and that is between 20 years old and 40 years old, who speaks English, and I'm just showing you as we go around, who speaks English, who is on their mobile phone. I don't want persons who are using a computer to see it. All right. I can ask Google to do that. And this is what Google does. This is what Facebook does. They can target you. And how? It is by what you click on. So when you scroll through Instagram and you click on something that speaks about exercise, you'll notice that the more you click on things with exercise, you start getting them. Same thing with Facebook, and even same thing if you're on the Nation News. And it's because these devices are allowing these companies to collect your information. All right. So I'm just going to use the word cookies so that the next time you hear it, you can probably pay more attention. I'm not going to go into it, but they're stored in your internet browsing cookies so that when you go, when you go on anywhere on the internet, pretty much your computer, your devices shares the information with other websites so they give you more of what you want without you knowing. So let me read that. Social media and internet browsing finds out what you want and gives you more of it. Does that sound familiar? Does that sound similar to maybe a drug lord or someone who's trying to sell you drugs? They give you a little piece and then and then you're hooked on it, and you say, all right, you ain't gonna pay me for this one, so I can give you another one free. And then you're hooked and you do not even know it. So I didn't really want to go into, I'm going to go into a little bit of more, effects of social media, but we have to be careful. All right. What we click on, make sure you clear your cache, clear your cookies, and mentally we have to tell ourselves, this is Facebook trying to get me to go where I don't want to go, do what I don't want to do. We become slaves to the technology. That's how they get us. I'm just pausing because I'm seeing messages in the chat. Yes. Yes, Kim, not that you do drugs. All right. So some more facts about social media. All right. Social media and self-love. The reward centers of the brain are most active when people are talking about themselves. Right. And in real life, it's estimated that people talk about themselves around 30 to 40% of the time. However, social media is all about showing off one's life and accomplishments. So people talk about themselves a staggering 80% of the time. So when a person posts a picture and gets positive social feedback, it stimulates the brain to release dopamine, which again rewards that behavior and perpetuates the social media habit. All right. So we have to be careful. We have to tell ourselves, we have to know what the technology is doing to us to tell ourselves, this is where I am going to stop. Otherwise, we will get carried away. And that's why I think technology addiction is one of the more dangerous types of addiction, because I was going to say dangerous, it's subtle, because there's so many different factors, including us having to work, entertainment, so many different things guide us in that direction, and we often get there and don't even know it. Right? Now, even without being an addict, we have to be careful, as I was just saying. We can waste valuable time. The average American spends 4.5 hours a day on their phone. Millennials spend slightly more time on their phones, 5.7 hours, compared to the baby boomers, 5 hours on average. So you got to be careful. And these were just some more statistics, pretty much saying the same thing. Average American spends more than 11 hours every day watching, reading, listening to, or otherwise interacting with media generally. Most of the time is spent on television, followed by smartphone use, then radio, then tablet use, and internet use on the computer. Another statistic shows that we spend an average of 2 hours and 15 minutes on social networking sites per day. When it comes to teens, prepare to be shocked, that number comes closer to 9 hours, according to one CNN report. Right? So, wrapping up, signs and symptoms of technology addiction: poor hygiene, decreased interest in offline activities, decreasing interest in offline activities, irritability or frustration when forced to disconnect, persistent use in spite of negative consequences at school, work, or in relationships, preoccupation with online experiences, even in offline time, tend to think and you tend to think about past experiences and plan for future experiences online. All right. Now, these are more questions that we can ask ourselves. Do you spend a lot of time specifically to social media? Do you spend a lot of time thinking about social media or planning to use social media? Do you feel urges to use social media more and more? Do you use social media to forget about personal problems? Do you often try to reduce use of social media without success? I've tried it. Do you become restless or troubled if unable to use social media? Do you use social media so much that it has had negative impact on your job or studies? A couple solutions to the problem are our last few slides. Pick outdoor activities over technology. Celebrate your success. So instead of going online and liking other people's posts all the time, celebrate who you are, right? If you, go to sleep earlier in the night, celebrate that success if that is a bad habit. To get up and do an exercise for the first time, celebrate that success. You're on your way to even better health. Celebrate your successes. All right. Redesign your room. So this is to plan your family room so that the TV isn't the highlight of the house, but a backdrop that needs a twist to look at it or to rearrange your chairs. All right. So don't make it easy to just sit down and look at the TV. All right. What's next? Rest before you sleep. So turn off your device or before you sleep. Read a book. Do some reflective writing. Set time limits, and you can even use your technology to do this. Put some alarms on your phone so that you make sure you do not use it over a certain period of time. Turn off notifications, especially when you're asleep or when you have to focus on your work. And of course, seek professional help if you realize your child has these a more significant problem where they are dependent on technology and their behavior is irrational and erratic when they're told not to use technology. All right. Okay. And even with, and I hope this comes out more and more and more with each session that we have nightly, that personal counseling is important. You don't have to be afraid of it. It's being effective and allows persons to speak out their problems rather than probably have feeling threatened if they have to share them in a home setting or public setting. Right. Now, the battle belongs to God. 1, the Bible clearly notes that addictions are a real problem people face in this world. 1 Timothy 3:3, Titus 1:7, you can check on those. And 1 Corinthians 6:18. The Bible is clear about finding help for addictions. The help ultimately comes from God as we replace old habits with new ones. Colossians 3:8-10 explains, but now you must put them all away: anger, wrath, malice, slander, and obscene talk from your mouth. Do not lie to one another, seeing that you have put off the old self with its practices and have put on the new self, which is being renewed in knowledge after the image of its creator. All right, so these are bad habits, bad addictions. God wants us to find help for those. 3rd, other people can also help. Galatians 6:1-2 says, brothers, if anyone is caught in any transgression, you who are spiritual should restore him in a spirit of gentleness. Keep watch on yourself, lest you too be tempted. bear one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ. James 5:19-20 adds, my brothers, if any among you wanders from the truth and someone brings him back, let him know that whoever brings back a sinner from his wandering will save his soul from death and will cover a multitude of sins. The Holy Spirit, finally, the Holy Spirit helps provide power against addiction. Now, addictions are a very real issue. Technology addictions are very real, but they are not impossible to overcome. With the help of God and God's people, Scripture offers much encouragement regarding the reality of addiction. God's power to fight addiction, the importance of other believers to help, and the strength of God's Spirit for the believer who seeks to fight against these addictive struggles. So, and I'm going to leave you with this text saying, Luke 10:27, he answered and said, thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy strength, and with all thy mind, and thy neighbor as thyself. So no matter what the addiction is, no matter what the addiction is, we have to realize that the addiction or the love for the addiction should not supersede God. We need to keep reminding ourselves that. With technology, we often tell ourselves, no, I don't have a pornography addiction, I don't drink, I don't smoke, so I'm good. But even without a problem where you are erratic in relation to addiction and technology, but a lot of us spend too much time on social media, on technology, and where we spend our time, that's really showing what and who we really love. So let us remember to refocus on God, read more of the word, spend more time in prayer, be around more people like in this group that will encourage us to love God more and each other, and to focus on these things so that we are not a slave to technology, social media, and so that if we are, we can replace that love for technology and social media and replace it with God. Thank you very much. I hope you have learned, and I have given you a lot to think about in relation to technology, social media, and addiction.
Through it all, I've learned to trust in Jesus. I've learned to trust in God. Through it all, I've learned to depend upon His word. I've had many tears and sorrows. I've had questions for tomorrow. There's been times I didn't know right from wrong, but in every situation, God gave blessed consolation that my trials have only come to make